Hey everyone, welcome to another deep dive. We're going exploring occult traditions and symbolism today.
Always a fascinating topic.
Yeah, for sure. We got some interesting material to go over today from Mark Passio,
Yeah.
a lecturer based in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
And just to give everyone a little context, he's got a website, whatonearthishappening.com,
Yes.
and a podcast with a similar name where he kind of dives into all sorts of things from like human consciousness to freedom from governmental control to occultism to psychology. So
It's pretty deep stuff.
yeah, it's pretty in-depth, right? And I think right off the bat, I'm picking up on this desire he has to really bring occult knowledge to a wider audience.
For sure.
But he also seems a little bit frustrated with how it's been misused or misunderstood over time. What do you think the core message is he's trying to get across?
Well, I think the core message that's coming through to me is that this knowledge is powerful and it has to be used wisely. And so he's trying to bring this information to the public so that people can use it for good and for their own personal growth.
Right, and he defines Kabbalah as proper reception.
Yes.
Which is really interesting,
Yeah.
like how we're talking about it right
Yeah.
now. Like we're receiving this information, trying to understand it.
It definitely feels relevant to us right now.
It does, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So how does the Kabbalistic tree of life kind of fit into all of this? Because that seems to be a pretty central symbol in his work.
The tree of life is essentially like a map of human consciousness. It's a way of understanding the different aspects of ourselves and the journey we take towards higher awareness.
And there are some parallels to the Vedic chakra system.
Definitely both systems point to this progression from base consciousness to a state of unity and enlightenment.
Interesting.
So in a way, yeah, they're speaking the same language.
Okay, all right, I see that. And then he also talks about the four worlds of Kabbalah. What are those?
Okay, so think of those as different levels of reality or existence.
Okay.
So the lowest world, Asaya, represents the physical plane, what we experience with our senses.
Okay, so that's the most basic level.
Exactly. Then you have Yetzira, which is the formative world.
Okay.
This corresponds to the mental plane, so where our thoughts and ideas form.
Right.
Then you have Braya, the creative world, associated with emotions. And then finally, Atzilut, the world of pure spirit and will.
So essentially he's saying that consciousness is like evolving through these different realms.
Right. And our actions on one level can impact the others.
Interesting.
So it's all interconnected.
I see that now shifting gears a bit to Freemasonry, Passio is pretty adamant that it's much more than just a social club.
Yeah.
He seems very interested in the symbolism that's embedded in that tradition.
For sure. One of the most significant symbols he examines is the first degree tracing board,
Okay.
which is a visual representation of the Temple of Solomon and the journey of the initiate.
And there's a lot in that imagery, right?
Yeah, tons to decode.
You've got pillars representing strength and wisdom, a checkerboard floor symbolizing duality tools that represent the 3 degrees of initiation. What stands out to you in all of that?
I think what's really interesting is that the orientation of the tracing board itself can change the interpretation.
Really?
So when it's turned on its side, the checkerboard floor becomes the earth and the pillars become the equator and the tropics.
Whoa.
So it becomes this representation of the journey from darkness to light,
Oh,
from earthly identification to cosmic awareness.
I see that.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is really cool. There's also the sigil of all masonry,
Yes.
which he says can represent both positive and negative New World orders, depending on how you're looking at it.
Yeah, and it symbolizes the potential for a world built on truth and enlightenment, but also the potential for a world dominated by control and ignorance.
So it's almost like this choice point.
Right, I'm at a fork in the road.
Do we embrace knowledge or do we perpetuate ignorance?
Exactly. And he believes that we have the power to shape the world around us,
Hmm.
and that knowledge, particularly occult knowledge, is a powerful tool.
For sure, it could be used for good or for ill.
Yeah, for sure.
Now let's talk about tarot, because Passio is very clear that it's not just about fortune telling.
Right.
He seems to see it as like this complex system for understanding the human psyche and the laws of the universe.
He explains the structure of the deck. So the major arcana representing archetypes and spiritual lessons, and then the minor arcana representing the elements and everyday experiences.
Okay.
And he really dives deep into the symbolism embedded in each card.
Okay. I have to admit, I've always been a little bit like skeptical of tarot.
Yeah.
That was like kind of woo-woo. But the
Yeah.
way he's explaining it is starting to make me see it in a new light,
Yeah.
especially the Wheel of Fortune card.
Oh, yeah.
It's interesting that he claimed there are hidden messages in that card about the nature of tarot itself.
Well, he decodes the word tarot from the letters on the card.
Really?
Yeah, and he connects them to words like Rhoda for wheel, Torah for law, and even the Egyptian goddess Hathor.
Wow.
So it's like the card itself is a key to understanding the entire system.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
So we've talked about Kabbalah, we've
Yeah.
talked about Freemasonry and tarot, but he also briefly touches on other occult traditions,
Yes.
like Rosicrucianism, Theosophy.
And Thelema.
Can you just give us a quick overview of those for context?
Of course. So Rosicrucianism is a tradition of esoteric Christianity that emphasizes self-knowledge and understanding the laws of nature.
Okay.
Theosophy focuses on investigating the mysteries of being and nature with this core principle that there's no religion higher than truth.
Interesting.
And then Thelema, developed by Aleister Crowley, emphasizes aligning oneself with one's true will and living in harmony with the universe.
Okay, so there are a lot of different flavors of occultism.
Many paths.
Many paths, right?
Yeah.
And he doesn't necessarily subscribe to every belief or practice of every tradition, but he definitely seems to encourage exploration and critical thinking.
Yeah, absolutely. Seeing value in studying different perspectives, taking what resonates and leaving what doesn't.
That's all part of the journey.
Exactly.
All right, so now things are about to get a little bit more unsettling because he spends a good chunk of time talking about dark occultism.
Yeah.
So who are these dark occultists he keeps referring to, and like what are they up to?
Well, he believes that the modern intelligence apparatus, specifically certain factions within it, represent the highest level of the dark occult operating in society today.
Okay, that's a bold statement.
Yeah.
And he even suggests that some intelligence agencies might be working with non-human entities.
Yeah, that's where things get really interesting.
That's sending chills down my spine a little bit, to be honest.
Well, we're here to explore these ideas, not necessarily endorse them.
Right, of course.
So let's see where he takes us with this.
Let's do it. It's getting good.
Passio really dives into these claims about dark occultism within intelligence agencies, and he seems to be focusing on the National Reconnaissance Office, the NRO.
Yeah, what's up with the NRO? They're responsible for like spy satellites and
Yeah.
stuff, right? Why does he find them so suspicious?
He points to the stark contrast between their relatively small staff and their massive budget, which suggests they're funneling money into all sorts of clandestine projects. Maybe even collaborating with private organizations involved in, ethically questionable research.
Okay, and then it gets really strange because
Yeah.
he implies they might even be dabbling in things beyond our current scientific understanding, like potentially interacting with non-human entities. It sounds like a sci-fi movie. Does he offer any evidence for this?
Not concrete evidence in the traditional sense, but he dissects the NRO's official seal, claiming its symbolism reveals hidden messages about their true agenda.
Yeah, that seal's pretty creepy. You've got this like dark cloaked figure clutching the earth in its claws.
Yeah.
Doesn't exactly scream transparency or goodwill.
No, not really. Passio interprets this imagery as indicative of a desire for control and domination. He suggests the NRO sees itself as this unseen force manipulating global events from the shadows.
And he also points out the orbital path surrounding the earth and the seal, right?
Yeah.
Which he interprets as a representation of their global surveillance network.
Right. It's like they're constantly watching, gathering information, maintaining this level of control that most people are completely oblivious to.
So it creates this atmosphere of fear and distrust.
Exactly, making populations easier to manipulate.
Yeah, it's like the panopticon effect.
Right. The mere possibility of being watched changes our behavior.
Yeah, it's pretty unsettling to think about.
It's definitely a dystopian vision. But remember, Passio also offers this glimmer of hope. He believes that by becoming aware of these tactics, understanding the principles of natural law, and taking responsibility for our actions, we can resist manipulation and create a more just and equitable world.
Okay, that's a powerful message. But it's hard to feel optimistic after hearing all of that. To kind of shift gears a bit, I'm curious about the lighter side of occultism. Passio promised a case study in light occult symbolism by analyzing the tarot's major arcana. Maybe this will lighten the mood a little.
I think it will. This is where we see Passio's passion for the transformative potential of occult knowledge. He moves beyond the fear-mongering and conspiracy theories and really explores the tarot as a tool for self-discovery and spiritual growth.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Where does he begin?
He introduces the concept of the fool's journey, which represents the soul's journey through life and the various challenges and lessons we encounter along the way. Each card in the major arcana symbolizes a different stage of this journey, from the naive optimism of the fool to the ultimate integration and enlightenment represented by the world card.
So we're going on a journey through the tarot. All right, sign me up.
He doesn't cover all 22 cards in detail, but he highlights a few key cards that illustrate the core principles of his interpretation of the Fool's Journey.
Okay, which cards does he choose?
He starts with the Magician card number 1.
Okay.
This card represents our potential to manifest our will in the world. The magician has all the tools at their disposal, the 4 elements symbolized by the wand, cup, sword, and pentacle. It's up to us to use these tools wisely and creatively.
Okay, so it's like a reminder that we have the power to shape our own reality.
Yeah, but with that power comes responsibility.
Right.
And Passio emphasizes that this power should be used in alignment with natural law, not for selfish or destructive purposes.
Right.
It's about understanding the consequences of our actions and choosing wisely.
What other cards does he explore?
He moves on to the High Priestess card number 2, representing intuition, inner wisdom, and the mysteries of the subconscious mind. She sits between the pillars of duality, symbolizing balance between light and darkness, masculine and feminine.
I'm noticing a recurring theme here. Balance.
You're right. Passio stresses that true understanding comes from integrating seemingly opposing forces.
Okay.
So with the High Priestess, he's highlighting the importance of listening to our inner voice, trusting our intuition, and recognizing the wisdom that resides within.
Okay, what about the Empress card number 3? What does she represent in this journey?
The Empress embodies the feminine principle, representing creativity, abundance, and the nurturing power of nature. She often sits amidst this lush garden, symbolizing fertility and the interconnectedness of all things.
I see the connection to the concept of natural law that Passio keeps bringing up.
Absolutely. The Empress reminds us to connect with nature, embrace our creative potential, and recognize the abundance that surrounds us. She represents a balance to the more assertive energy of the magician.
Okay, so we have the magician representing active creation and the Empress representing nurturing and abundance. What comes next?
Passio then jumps to the Emperor card number 4, who represents structure, authority, and the masculine principle.
Okay.
He sits on a throne symbolizing his worldly power, but his stern expression suggests he can also be rigid and controlling.
Ah, the Emperor. It feels like a necessary force, but one that needs to be kept in check.
That's a good way to put it. Passio acknowledges that structure and order are necessary for society to function, but he warns against becoming too attached to power and control.
Right.
True leadership, he suggests, comes from serving others, not dominating them.
That's a valuable lesson. So we're seeing a lot of duality in these cards, right?
For sure.
The Magician and the Empress, the Emperor and the Tro. Who comes next?
Next is the Hierophant card number 5, traditionally representing organized religion and tradition.
Interesting. How does Passio interpret this card within the Fool's Journey?
He sees the Hierophant as representing the need for guidance and mentorship on the spiritual path.
Okay.
This figure can embody the wisdom of the past, offering structure and support. But Passio warns that the Hierophant can also become dogmatic and rigid, clinging to outdated beliefs and stifling individual growth.
So it's like a cautionary tale. Blindly following authority, even in spiritual matters, can be detrimental.
Exactly. He encourages us to question everything, even our most cherished beliefs, and to seek our own understanding of truth.
Okay, I'm really starting to get into this tarot analysis. It's fascinating how each card can be interpreted on so many different levels.
It really is, and we're only just scratching the surface.
Let's keep going. What's next on the Fool's Journey?
We pick back up with the Lover's card number 6. This card often depicts a man and a woman standing before an angel, symbolizing the choices we make in relationships and the need for balance and harmony.
Love and relationships, okay. Seems pretty straightforward. What's the deeper layer Passio is uncovering here?
Well, he sees the lovers as representing a deeper duality within ourselves. The struggle between our higher and lower selves, the pull between love and ego. It's like the angel is asking, which path will you choose? You know, the path of love and compassion or the path of self-serving desire?
So it's not just about romantic love. It's about the choices we make every day.
Right.
Reflect our values and ultimately shape who we are.
Exactly. And Passio emphasizes that there's no right or wrong answer here. The key is to be conscious of our choices and strive for balance between our desires and our higher aspirations.
Okay, I like that. So on to the next stage of the journey. What's card number 7?
We arrive at the Chariot, symbolizing willpower, determination, and the ability to overcome obstacles. The charioteer is often shown holding the reins of 2 sphinxes representing the opposing forces within us that we must learn to control.
So it's about mastering our inner drives and directing our energy towards our goals. It reminds me of the Magician, but with a greater emphasis on control and focus.
That's a great observation. It builds on the magician's power of manifestation, but highlights the discipline and willpower needed to navigate the challenges on our path.
Hmm.
And Passio reminds us that true progress isn't just about, external achievements.
Right.
It's about the inner mastery we cultivate along the way.
Okay, I'm with you on that one. The Fool's Journey is really resonating with me. Each card is like a mirror, reflecting different aspects of ourselves and the choices we face. So what comes after the Chariot?
We encounter Strength card number 8. This card, often depicting a woman gently taming a lion, emphasizes inner strength, compassion, and the ability to overcome our baser instincts through love and understanding.
It's such a powerful image.
Right.
It's not about brute force, but about the strength that comes from gentleness, compassion, and self-control.
Exactly. Passio highlights that true strength lies in mastering our inner beast, not letting it control us. He sees this as a key principle of what he calls light occultism, using knowledge and power not for domination, but for healing and transformation.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So far, this journey has been about harnessing our power-making choices and finding balance. Where do we go from here?
Card number 9 brings us to the Hermit, representing solitude, introspection, and the search for wisdom.
Okay.
The Hermit is often shown holding a lantern representing the light of knowledge and a staff symbolizing self-reliance.
I see how this stage is crucial. After all the action and challenges, it's time for reflection, for looking inward and connecting with our inner guidance.
Exactly. Passio emphasizes the importance of taking time for introspection, stripping away external distractions, and confronting our shadows. He sees this as a necessary step for deepening our self-awareness and gaining clarity on our path.
Okay, so we retreat into ourselves with the Hermit. What comes next?
We reach card number 10, the Wheel of Fortune. We've already talked about the hidden messages Passio finds in this card, but in the context of the Fool's Journey, it represents the cyclical nature of life, the ups and downs, the constant change that we all experience.
Yeah, it's a reminder that nothing stays the same. Fortune and misfortune are constantly in flux. It can be a little daunting, but also kind of liberating in a way.
Exactly. Passio emphasizes that while we can't control external circumstances, we can control our response to them.
Right.
So he sees the Wheel of Fortune as a call to embrace change, learn from our experiences, and trust that even in the darkest times, the wheel will eventually turn again.
I appreciate that message of hope. This journey has been a roller coaster of emotions and insights. What comes after the Wheel of Fortune?
We come to Justice card number 11, often depicted as a woman holding a sword and scales. It represents fairness, balance, and the law of cause and effect.
Okay, so reaping what we sow, understanding that our actions have consequences. It seems to tie back into that concept of natural law that Passio keeps emphasizing.
Absolutely. Passio highlights that our choices have ripple effects, and justice serves as a reminder to act with integrity and to strive for fairness and balance in our dealings with others.
All right, moving along to card number 12, we encounter the Hanged Man. This one always feels a bit unsettling.
Yeah, it can be a challenging card to interpret. It often depicts a man suspended upside down, seemingly helpless, but Passio sees it as representing a state of surrender, a willingness to let go of old patterns and beliefs that no longer serve us.
So it's not about being a victim, but about consciously choosing to release what no longer serves our growth.
Right.
It's about shifting our perspective, seeing things from a new angle.
That's a great insight. Passio emphasizes that this process of surrender can be challenging, but it's often necessary for breaking free from limiting beliefs and opening ourselves to new possibilities.
All right, on to the next stage. What does card 13 bring?
We arrive at death, perhaps the most misunderstood card in the tarot. Despite its imagery, it doesn't represent physical death, but rather transformation and rebirth.
Okay.
It symbolizes the ending of old cycles and the beginning of new ones.
So it's like shedding a skin, letting go of what no longer serves us to make space for new growth. It's a reminder that change is inevitable and essential for our evolution.
Exactly. Passio encourages us to view death not with fear, but as a natural part of life's cycle.
Yeah.
It's an opportunity to shed the old and embrace the new, to transform and evolve into a more authentic version of ourselves.
I'm starting to see how each card in the major arcana builds on the previous one, creating this narrative of growth and transformation.
Okay.
This comes after death.
We find ourselves at Temperance card number 14.
Yeah.
It often depicts an angel mixing water from 2 cups, symbolizing balance, harmony, and the integration of seemingly opposing forces.
Balance, again, seems to be a recurring theme in this journey.
You're absolutely right. Temperance highlights the importance of finding balance in all areas of our lives: work and play, logic and intuition, masculine and feminine. Passio sees this card as a symbol of the alchemist within each of us, seeking to transform darkness into light, chaos into order.
It's about finding that sweet spot, that harmonious blend of all the different aspects of ourselves. What comes after this quest for balance?
We encountered the Devil card number 15. Now, despite the intimidating imagery, Passio doesn't see this card as representing pure evil. Instead, he interprets it as the shadow self, the repressed aspects of our psyche that we often deny or project onto others.
Interesting. So it's not an external force, but rather a part of ourselves that we need to acknowledge and integrate.
Exactly. Passio believes that true freedom comes from facing our shadows, understanding our darker impulses, and integrating them into a more whole and authentic self. Denying or suppressing our shadow only gives it more power.
It's like that saying, our greatest fear is not that we are inadequate, but that we are powerful beyond measure. What comes after confronting the devil?
We arrive at the Tower card number 16. This card symbolizes sudden and unexpected change, often experienced as a crisis or breakdown. The imagery is often dramatic, a tower struck by lightning figures falling from great heights.
It definitely feels like a wake-up call, a shattering of our illusions and comfort zones.
It can be a very disruptive experience, but Passio sees it as a necessary part of the journey.
Yeah.
The tower represents a dismantling of old structures and beliefs that no longer serve us, paving the way for a new foundation to be built.
So it's a process of breaking down to break through. It sounds painful, but ultimately liberating. What's next on our journey?
We find solace and hope in the Star card number 17. It often depicts a woman pouring water onto the earth, symbolizing renewal, healing, and the replenishment of our spirit.
After the upheaval of the tower, the star feels like a much-needed breath of fresh air.
It is Passio sees the star as a reminder that even after the most challenging experiences, there's always hope for healing and renewal. It's a call to trust in the process, to believe that even in the darkest of times, the light will eventually return.
Okay, on to card number 18. What awaits us there?
We enter the realm of the moon, a card often depicted as a path winding through a dark and mysterious landscape. It represents the subconscious mind, our dreams, illusions, and the hidden aspects of ourselves.
It feels like a journey into the unknown, a descent into our deepest selves.
It can be a disorienting experience navigating the shadows of our subconscious. But Passio emphasizes that this exploration is essential for self-understanding and growth. He sees the moon as a reminder that there's more to us than meets the eye, and that true self-knowledge requires confronting our hidden depths.
Okay, so we delved into our subconscious with the moon. What comes next?
We emerge into the radiant light of the sun, card number 19. This card represents joy, vitality, and the full expression of our true selves. It's often depicted as a child riding a white horse, symbolizing innocence, purity, and the radiant energy of our inner child.
After the darkness of the moon, the sun feels like a welcome arrival. It's a reminder to embrace life with childlike wonder and to celebrate the joy of simply being.
Precisely, Passio sees the sun as a symbol of enlightenment, a state of clarity and wholeness that comes from integrating our shadow selves and aligning with our highest purpose. It's a reminder that even after confronting our darkest depths, we can emerge into the light stronger and more whole than before.
It's an inspiring message. What's next on this transformative journey?
We encountered Judgment card number 20. This card often shows an angel blowing a trumpet, awakening the dead from their graves. It symbolizes a time of reckoning, a call to self-reflection and accountability.
It feels like a moment of truth, where we're called to take stock of our lives and make amends for past mistakes.
Exactly. Passio emphasizes that this isn't about punishment, but about taking responsibility for our actions and aligning ourselves with our highest values. It's about waking up to our true potential and choosing to live a life that reflects our truest selves.
And finally, we reach the end of our journey with card number 21, the world. What awaits us there?
The world represents completion, integration, and the fulfillment of our potential. It's often depicted as a dancer surrounded by a wreath, symbolizing wholeness and unity, and holding wands in each hand, representing mastery over the material and spiritual realms.
It feels like a celebration of all that we've learned and overcome on this journey, a moment of arrival, of coming full circle.
Exactly. Passio sees the world as a reminder that the journey is never truly over, that growth and evolution are ongoing processes. Even when we reach a point of completion, there's always a new beginning waiting for us, a new adventure to embark on.
Wow. This journey through the major arcana has been incredible. It's given me a whole new understanding of the tarot and its potential for self-discovery.
Passio's analysis shows how these cards can be more than just fortune-telling tools. They can be powerful mirrors reflecting our inner world, guiding us towards greater self-awareness, and reminding us of the transformative power of the Fool's Journey.
It's been a wild ride exploring the darker aspects of occultism and then diving deep into the transformative potential of the tarot. What key takeaway would you leave our listener with today?
I think Passio's work, despite its often controversial nature, highlights the importance of personal responsibility and conscious awareness. Whether we're talking about manipulative symbols or the archetypes of the tarot, it's about recognizing the power of these forces and choosing how we engage with them.
It's about taking ownership of our journey, making conscious choices, and using this knowledge to empower ourselves and create positive change.
Exactly. It's about becoming more conscious creators of our own reality, both individually and collectively. And remember, the fool's journey never truly ends. There's always more to discover, more to integrate, more to become.
That's a great point. Well, this deep dive has been a real mind-opener. Thanks for joining us. To our listener, we encourage you to continue exploring these ideas, to keep asking questions, and to trust your own intuition as you navigate your own unique path.
And remember, the most important knowledge is the knowledge of self. Embrace the journey and never stop learning.
Well said. Thanks again for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring and keep diving deep.